Hey, welcome back to the Roman Lorenzo channel, and here today, I have a new installment to the Years Later series. I have the LEGO Ninjago movie video game, 8 years later. And so, without further ado, let's get right into it. The LEGO Ninjago movie video game was released on September the 22nd of 2017, to coincide with the release of the LEGO Ninjago movie. Although this was not the first Ninjago game to be released, there was LEGO Battles Ninjago for the DS, there was LEGO Ninjago Ninjroids for the Vita and the 3DS, and there was LEGO Ninjago Shadow of Ronin, which released on the Vita, the 3DS, and also released on mobile. There are also a good few Ninjago games that released on mobile. I mentioned all of this to say that this game was not the first Ninjago game to be released, but the first Ninjago game to be released on mainline consoles. With that, let's see how the game holds up today. The story for the LEGO Ninjago movie video game is very similar to the movie it is based on, with it having a mix of scenes from the movie, whilst also adding their own cutscenes to help the game make sense in its own narrative. The game itself consists of 14 story chapters and one bonus level once you have completed the story. My thoughts on the story are positive. The game's story does follow the movies, but the addition of the extra cutscenes do really help the game make sense and stand on its own. And with that, it's time to move out of the story and into the free play. The free play for the game is actually pretty good. It does follow the standard TT games formula of the modern era to have a bunch of smaller sections instead of one big open world, but I think that aspect works well in this game. There are 8 sections in this game, which include Ninjago City North, Ninjago City Beach, Ninjago City Docks, the Uncrossable Jungle, the Dark Ravine, the Lost City of Generals, the Unclimbable Mountain with the Battlefield, and Ninjago City Downtown. Some things I love from these maps is the reliance on the game's parkour system. Unlike most LEGO games, where you just have to explore and stumble onto some collectibles, this game has you parkouring to get to those collectibles, and it is definitely quite different. Instead of the regular stud count, where it is just a number on a screen, this game had a mini progression system which went up to 20 levels, and each time you leveled up, the game would reward you with a gold brick and some parts for the character customizer. And I wish that this system would have made it into later LEGO games. The stud multiplier was also quite different, where, instead of the regular multiplier amount, which sits at 3,840, this game only has a 2 times multiplier, which definitely had me looking at the stud count more often than I usually would. And the way the studs were used was also quite different. Instead of buying items like characters or red bricks, the game had you use your studs on Tornado of Creation builds, which would add something to the map and reward you with the gold brick. And speaking about gold bricks, the game has these small bonus areas inside all 8 of the explorable maps. They are unlocked by having a certain amount of gold bricks, and they are designed quite well and add an extra layer to the progression of the maps. The game also has dojos, which are found both in the free roam and on the map. The dojos themselves are a really fun addition. The game has you needing to reach a stud goal of around 150,000 studs to get 3 characters based off the villain of the dojo, and a certain amount of studs to be used in game. To get to that stud goal, the game has you defeating the enemies that arrive, and by effect, increasing your combo, which rewards you with a temporary stud multiplier. The higher the combo goes, the higher the stud multiplier will go. The villains of the dojo, barring the chicken from the prologue and General Number 1, are some of the villains from the first 7 seasons of the TV show, with villains like Pythor, General Kozu, General Cryptor, Master Chen, Moro, Nodacon, and Acronix and Crux. If I had to say a complaint to the dojos, it would be that sometimes there is one enemy left to defeat and make it to the next wave, and it takes me a little while to find him. And when I do end up finding him, my combo is reset, which can be a little irritating. And speaking about irritating, there is quite a bit about the free play that I do not like, one of which is the inconsistency of the map's design. There are maps like the Uncrossable Jungle, the Lost City of Generals, and the Unclimbable Mountain that are quite well designed. Despite being slightly linear, they are just small open zones. But some of the Ninjago City maps like Ninjago City Beach, Ninjago City Docks, and Ninjago City Downtown feel extremely linear. The maps have you mostly going down a set path, picking up collectibles along the way. Despite being the same open zones as the previously mentioned sections, the Ninjago city maps just feel so much more controlled. And the reason for this problem goes into my next problem with the free play, and that is the fact that the open zones of the free play are the exact same as the levels. The levels themselves are meant to feel a little bit more linear, but my problem comes when the linearity of the story levels translates to the free play. For the maps outside the Ninjago city maps, the game added a good few bonus sections that help the game feel more free. But for most of the Ninjago city maps, the bonus sections feel like they are spread few and far between. And that is really all I've got to say about the free play. So, it's time to move on to the characters. LEGO TT games are known for their huge character rosters, and this game is no different. Despite the game being based off the movie, the character roster does not limit itself to that movie. While sure, there are the movie characters like General Number 1, Lady Iron Dragon, and a good amount of Shark Army goons, the game also has a pretty big roster of characters from the show, like Ronin, Sensei Yang, and Dareth, just to name a few. One of the only things that I find really weird looking is some of the characters' lack of secondary animations. Let me explain. All of the Serpentine characters have a tail that you would expect to move, but it doesn't. I would not necessarily classify this as a criticism, more as something that takes a couple of minutes to get used to. Another thing that is a little weird is the inclusion of the Lloyd Hoodie variant. The character itself is not exactly weird, but rather, it is the way he is unlocked, because instead of unlocking him through the character blind bags in the free play, you get the code for the character in the physical releases of the movie, or with a quick search. Although I will quickly mention that I would save the Lloyd Hoodie variant for last, because there is a chance that unlocking his cheat code might invalidate the Master of Disguise trophy. So, all in all, the characters of the game are quite good, but how about the combat? I did touch on the combat briefly whilst talking about the dojos, but the game added so much depth to the combat system that I thought it deserved its own section. The game has a few different attack types, and a level up system for these attack types called Ninjanuity tokens. The tokens themselves are unlocked for playing through the story, and the tokens help unlock more stud drops from fallen enemies, and help increase damage dealt from select moves. And to the game's credit, the game does give you a reason to be using all the different combat moves, and it does that by having the enemies block your attacks if you use the same move too often, forcing you to have to change up your attacks. And the combat system was not reserved to just this game, since the combat system was later used in the LEGO Incredibles game. So now, out of the combat and into the game's battle arenas. The arenas in the game have 3 different game modes, the first of which is a Samurai Showdown, where each player starts with a flag that gives points. The more flags you get, the more points you get. The next arena is the Mystic Showdown, where there are different colored artifacts, and the one who collects the most wins. And the final of the arenas is the Ultimate Weapon, where a brown chest spawns in the middle of the map, and the one who holds it the longest wins. There are also 3 different maps to play on. There is a Ninjago City map, an Uncrossable Jungle map, and an Unclimbable Mountain map, which are all just really standard map design. All in all, the arenas are definitely a welcome addition. Though not being the best, I can definitely see myself coming back to play a few more rounds of it. And with all of that, the battle arenas have also made it into other LEGO games, making its debut all the way back in LEGO Dimensions, and then after this game, also appearing in LEGO Marvel Super Heroes 2. And with that, that is really all I have to say about the arenas. So, what glitches did I experience during my playthrough? I would like to mention a couple of the glitches that occurred during my playthrough. The first one I'll mention happened in the Ultimate Weapon arena, where I had selected Karloff, and he couldn't pick up the chest. I don't know if this was a glitch or just something the devs did not factor in, but definitely interesting to think about. The second glitch that I'll mention happens in the loading screen, where the game will just freeze and then black screen, forcing me to restart. The final glitch I'll mention happened right near the end after I collected the last ancient scroll on the Unclimbable Mountain. The Master of the Red Arch trophy did not appear. I don't know if that was a fault of the game, or that my PS4 did not register that trophy, but it was definitely a little concerning. Thankfully, I did have another save file where I had finished the story, and after about 30 minutes of going through each map and finding the scroll, and replaying through each of the dojos to collect the final scroll, I had finally unlocked the trophy on a secondary save. And so, that is all the glitches that occurred during my playthrough. So, with that, how is the music of the game? The music in the game is quite interesting, having some pretty good themes in it like the theme for Pythor's Dojo and the Wall of Ninjanuity. The game also has the Weekend Whip, which can be played on a boombox in Ninjago City North. All in all, the game's music is pretty enjoyable from start to finish. And speaking about the finish, how is the 100% completion? The 100% completion of the game, according to howlong2beat.com, should take around 18 hours to complete. And in my playthrough, it took me just over 16 hours. The game, whilst not being the longest, was definitely quite a lot of fun to complete. And the in-game reward, whilst not being the most useful at this stage of the game, is definitely cool. You get the Golden Ninja, who has the power of all 5 of the ninja's elemental powers. The only thing that lessens the character is the fact that Skylar has the same power, and there's an ancient scroll that is unlocked in the Dark Ravine that gives every Spinjitzu master the exact same power. But, for a fan of the show, he is a really nice character to unlock. In conclusion, the LEGO Ninjago movie video game is quite a fun experience. Even if you like the show and don't like the movie, this game still has enough references and callbacks to keep you playing through. And, for anyone who also likes the movie, this game adds quite a lot of added cutscenes to help expand the narrative. Hi, thanks for sticking around to the end of the video. This video took a long time to make, so subscribing would be highly appreciated. Special thanks to Mr. Bones for editing this video. If you have any ideas for a future video, let me know in the comments, and I guess that's all I've got. Bye.